So John, so an interesting wrinkle in the fact that Trump's not going to be there at the inauguration is usually obviously Trump has something called the nuclear football, which is with him at all times. Someone has it with him at all times just in case something pops off and he needs to use it. And he has a secret code that only he knows that works for the nuclear football. Usually in an inauguration, the presidents are next to each other. So once the new president's sworn in, the nuclear football exchange happens to the new body guy. What's different is because Trump's going to be in Florida now and Biden's going to be in DC. So the Pentagon had to create a second nuclear football to give to Biden, and then at 12:01, the nuclear football with Trump goes dead and the codes go limp. Essentially, they stop working. Everything is activated for Biden. And there's going to be some lonely guy who has to take the nuclear football back to Washington, D.C.
Well, I will tell you, he is not going to be lonely. It's first of all, I'm glad you did that. I didn't even think about that, and I'm sure there's all sorts of things that I will agree with you. I will tell you, I'm a big fan of like some of the logistics around moving the president anywhere. And so I didn't think about the whole football issue, which I think is fascinating. But I will tell you, he is not coming home alone because don't forget, the president or Trump is leaving DC as the president. And there is a certain coterie, a certain detail that travels with the president of the United States. The ex president has a much smaller footprint. And so you have to remember that they're not just flying down there and dropping him off. They are literally flying down there and acting as he is the president, as because he will be, all the way up until 12. And those guys will then, at 12 o'clock, they will cease. And then that guy with the football won't be flying home by himself. Because think about it, there's all these extra Secret Service, there's
Yeah.
strike teams, there's military folks that travel with the president.
And the
And the
press, too.
reality is, and the press. And so those people have to get back to DC, and they're not gonna. But I will tell you, I think the thing that's even colder, and is probably it's gonna be worse because at least when you're at the at the inaugural and you get the say goodbye to the going president, there's like some type of weaning. It'd be funny if they literally are like with the president and like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. All right, we're out of here. I mean, they literally will be. I'm sure it'll be. They drop them off. They sit around doing whatever, and then like I'm not. I don't think they'll be wheels up at 12:01, but I'm sure by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, that whole crew will be like, "All right, we're gone. We're out of here." Um, but hey, he did it to himself. It's his own sad departure from the stage, and
They,
you
they might
know,
be on they
um,
might be on the expressway to Mar-a-Lago, and then you just see cars start exiting off the ramp
well, like I
going
said,
back home.
I literally think that that's what they said, that he's leaving first thing in the morning because he probably wants to get in and get set. But yeah, it's that would be fascinating if some reporter from like CNN or MSNBC just records the entire, has their cameras on trained on everybody and like all the surroundings of Mar-a-Lago, and you just see everybody like, oh, it's 12 o'clock, bye, and they're gone. So wow.